Hi, this is a Minute of Overpass. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now this week I want to talk about the importance of app design. Okay, so a few years ago when I first started doing apps, one of the biggest problems I had was finding a really good designer. We had a designer with the Indian company I was with, and he did a really good job with Airspy. It was based on my specs. I kind of put everything together. Now that logo was designed by me. In fact, the Overpass logo is designed by me, and I always thought it was good because I think I'm more of a developer, but I consider myself to be a pretty good designer, like a lot of developers do. And that's supposed to be a bridge, by the way. Most people don't realize that as the bridge is going over you. So anyway, when we started doing games, one of the biggest problems we had was design. In fact, when we first did, our first games were the Mandarin Bubble Bath and all the language Bubble Bath games. And we had a designer who just went online and found like images that were like open source. And we used this one image on like every single app for like the background, and it was horrible. And we used the same icon for everything. And it was so tough. Because when you don't have a good designer, you can't do anything. I mean, technically, everything is possible. Like I could draw a flow chart of saying how everything is possible. Without design, you've got nothing. So, and the first big app that we did, the first big game was Agent X, which is an algebra game. And we got a designer named Francisco Maldonado, I think, in Spain. Found him through Odesk. And he did all this comic book art, which was really, really good. However, when it came time to actually doing, but he couldn't do like animated sprites. So we went to somebody else to do the animated sprites. And I spent maybe, I think it was $200 on the first. There's like a Running Man sprite in the game, and the first designer I went with, who said he knew everything about it, came back with something that looked horrible. I mean, I don't think he's ever done a sprite before. Right, so it was more like, instead of Agent X running, he's just sort of like limping along. So anyway, I just had to cut my losses there. I mean, I still paid him because he spent the time on it. It was more on me for not seeing how incompetent he was, or not demanding to see work up front. But so we found somebody else who did a passable job, and it took him like 3 weeks, which was an incredible amount of time. Now, and so basically, our team now has a full-time designer. In fact, at one point we had 3 full-time designers, but right now we have one. We have Sandy Chica, who's been working with me for 2 years. She does a great job. So everything, if you look at the Overpass website, everything is done by her. So and the reason I bring this up is because when I look at the App Store, I see a lot of apps are very functional, right? They're very technically very good, but design is something that is well, I say it's lacking. But the hard bit for me with design is just knowing it's such a subjective thing. Like when I'm working with a client, I could go through and I could map out every process that their app should do. But when it comes to actual design and say what types of fonts to use, what kind of colors to use, and that's for like business apps. But for games, it's how cute should the alien be, how dangerous should the bad guys look, and all this kind of stuff. It's very subjective, and it takes a whole nother skill set that I just don't have. It's sort of like you give very vague terms, and they come back and say, how about this, and it's very, very iterative. So design is something that when we found a good designer, and when we do find good designers, we try to keep them as long as we can. Even if we don't have anything in immediate, right now to do, we keep them on because, it's such a hard thing. I mean, when I go to Odesk and hire a designer, it's such a mixed bag. It's people have said to me, aren't you afraid that if you have a full-time designer, you won't have enough for them to do? And I think, well, that's kind of the fun part, is finding stuff to them to do. So design is very important, and I don't give enough credit to Sandy and our other designers for all the work that they've done. So so this week, what she's been working on is sort of putting together a catalog of all of some of our designs. So we started a website here called Overpass Design. So we market all of our stuff towards apps. We're app developers. We do apps for clients, but most of the revenue comes from our own apps. However, we have really good designers, so we thought, well, let's see what happens if we just put out a website for Overpass Design. So here you can see, I'm just looking at the website here, you can see really nice logo. You know, that actually does look like a bridge, unlike mine. You know, some of our design work for some of the apps here, you know, Algebra, Study Cards, EarSpy, Along the Go, some stuff that we've done but never actually published. In fact, we've got so much graphics that we haven't even published yet in terms of games, and some different things here. So I encourage you to, if you have a second, go have a look at it. Let me know what you think. And here's the, you know, the meet the team. Next week I'll talk a little bit more about the team because I don't give them enough credit as they're worth. You know, if you watch the videos, you might think that this is just a one-man operation, and for a long time it was. But it's the kind of thing we can't do everything by myself, so we do have a good team in place. So that's it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, a very vague theme, which is design is important, but you know, your icon. If there's one thing we need to know about ASO and getting your apps marketed, it is you need to have good screenshots, you need to have a good icon, and a lot of times you need a good designer for that. Now you could be one of these people who can do design and code really well. I haven't met many people like that, and I'm definitely not one of those people. So again, a big thanks to Sandy and the other designers we've hired over the years, and that's it. I'll talk to you next week.
Hey, I really hope you liked that video. Now I do these once a week, so if you want to hear more, or you want to hear more about our experiences with the App Store, either Google Play or iTunes, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and please like this video and leave a comment. I love reading the comments. I love hearing what you have to say, even if it's just hello or whatever. And like I say before, if you're not sure what to say in a comment, like I never know what to say in a comment, I'll make it easier for you. Like if you liked it, just go ahead and say gnarly, which is an 80s term, or if you didn't like it, just say bogus, and if you didn't think any of it, just say right? So that would be a big help. And another thing you could do, which I'd really appreciate it, if you're on the App Store and you want to try one of our apps, look up some of the Overpass apps applications, either on iTunes or Google Play, and leave a review and let us know what you think about it, either good or bad. But you know, it's we're all trying to build up in the market, so that would be a big help. So that's it. I'll talk to you next week.